but my mother was a better role model for me. Third reason is never having a job. If you're in your teens, listen to your parents. Just imagine working 40 hours a week. That's going to take you off the streets for minimum 40 hours. You have a better chance of surviving the streets. Gangbanging, joining a gang. This is one of the worst things you can do as a teenager. Usually when you join a gang, you're not the top dog to put work in. You have to get yourself known. Gang has a rival gang. You're going to be put in certain positions to put work in. Things that is going to cause you to go to prison if you get caught. Go get the gun. We going to come from this side. Y'all come from this side. If they run this way, we going to shoot that way. My ideology was I'm not going anywhere without a gun. Sleep with a gun under my pillow. Use the bathroom with a gun. I would answer the door with my gun. This was religiously. I even went online in order to show the hoster.
هذا حد العالم هذا طالب هذا راسخ وإلى آخره.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. To all RipRight Hadith disciples, YouTubers and viewers, welcome back to a new video on RipRight HD. You know what time it is. You see the title. 5 reasons why him went to prison. Because him did over 10 years. May Allah ta'ala protect me from that. Ameen. Alright guys, so the first reason I would say that I went to prison is a golden rule, something that you should follow. I wasn't listening to my parents. And at the time, my father wasn't in my life. Obviously, I had a stepfather. But my stepfather wasn't the best role model, okay? But my mother was a better role model for me. And certain things that she told me, I didn't listen to her at all. I would never listen in totality. I would always try to be slick, try to be sly, always doing stuff behind her back, believing that she, you know what they say, you think I was born yesterday? You know, no, you know, or you know, you think I wasn't your age one time. So always thinking that you can be slick, sly, and outsmart your parents when in fact they were in your shoes. So they probably did everything you did and they probably did it better. So the number one rule or the number one reason why I did over 10 years in prison, I would say is because I didn't listen to my parents. Even after coming home and my mother would, oh, don't do this, don't do that. As a Muslim, being smart, being wise, and still doing the total opposite of what they were saying caused me to go back, land in prison, violation, this case, that case, so on and so forth. The second reason I would say is idle time. And the reason why I had idle time is because I dropped out of school. So the second reason for me doing over 10 years is dropping out of school. If you're not in school, usually at that age, you're into a bunch of garbage. You're out, you're doing all of the wrong things. And at that time, I dropped out of school in, I believe, the 10th grade. And what led up to that was me being shot. We were also beefing with what we call FAM, Flatlands Avenue mobsters. They used to wear the polo flag way back in 値, where they say 値Flossy. My squad at the time, we were beefing with them. So constantly beefing, not going to school, pulling up to school at third period, going in just to get your attendance, then leaving out. So cutting class automatically to eventually popping off in school, getting into crazy fights, doing the most in school to get me kicked out of school. Okay, so now that I'm in school and I was doing okay, once I started wilding out and cutting class, it got bad. Once the fight and all of that started happening and breaking out, and I finally got caught, I got expelled from school. But what was crazy is a little bit before I got expelled from the school or basically dropped out, I started to do good. My boys would come to the back of the classroom that I was in. They was out in the hallways cutting. They like, yo, is what? And I'm just in class, and I was actually starting to do good. And some guys had snuck into the school, and a big brawl happened. And eventually I got arrested for that and I dropped out in 10th grade. I started to seek after my GED and certain things like that. So that was one of the major issues. Now, after dropping out of school, obviously, again, idle time. It's nothing for me to do. The third reason, right, is never having a job. If I would have dropped out of school and I would have got a job and I would have been working a 9 to 5, then clearly I wouldn't have been selling weed. I wouldn't have been in the streets as much because I would have been still working. So a job can save a child or can save a teenager. School can definitely save a teenager. Listening to your parents should definitely save a teenager. So if you're in your teens, listen to your parents, stay in school, and if you can, get a job, whether it's part-time or not, so that you can gain some income, because that's going to help you if you're into that lifestyle and you're leading into the streets. Now, that job, as I said, just imagine working 40 hours a week and you're not in school. That's going to take you off the streets for minimum 40 hours in a week, minimum. You got to remember, an hour or two to prepare, depending on where your job is. You got to go to the job on your way back from the job. So more than likely, on a Friday night, you might go out, smoke and drink, because that's the things that we were into when we were younger. But for me, I didn't smoke or drink because I couldn't handle it. I was always paranoid, so I kind of stayed away from the drugs and alcohol. For the most part. So if you're doing that, you have a better chance of surviving the streets, of not going to jail if you work and have a 9 to 5. So that's the third reason that I believe I did over 10 years in prison. Okay. And the fourth reason I would say is gangbanging, joining a gang. This is one of the worst things you can do as a teenager, is join a gang. And the reason I say that is because usually when you join a gang, you're not the top dog for the most part. If the gang is already established, obviously you have to put work in. You have to get yourself known in order for you to call the shots. So if you're not calling the shots, and this gang has rival gangs, you're going to be put in certain positions to put work in, things that is going to cause you to go to prison if you get caught. Might be murder, might be a cutting, might be a stabbing, even to join some of the gangs back in the days. We know when it was the Bloods, they had a cutting initiation. These are things that's going to put you in a situation to do jail time. So when I joined the gang, I wasn't around positive influence. It wasn't any positive influence. It was like, yo, what's good? Yeah, them dudes over here, they fronting. So word, go get the gun. This is what we gonna do. We gonna come from this side. Y'all come from this side. If they run this way, we gonna shoot that way. So you're in a situation around a bunch of like-minded people. And even if your mind is not in that direction, your mind is going to be placed there because you're putting a situation. You put yourself in a situation. They calling it peer pressure. So now, whether you like it or not, and they give you that gun, you don't want to look crazy. But for me, in my situation, I was the one that was like the wild town. I was doing the most. So that was like the fourth reason. Joining a gang is always bad for a teenager to join a gang, because you're so impressionable. You're gonna do what everybody else is doing, especially in that gang. And number 5, I would say staying strapped. That definitely was the biggest cause, because think about it. There's 2 things that can happen. You could either die or you can kill somebody. You could either die or you can kill somebody. So my ideology was, I'm not going anywhere without a gun. I would sleep with a gun under my pillow. I would use the bathroom with a gun. I would answer the door with my gun. This was religiously. I even went online in order to show the holster. I was walking around the hood with a vest on, a shoulder holster, and a polo leather. It was made. So, I was out of my mind, riding on a regular pedal bike, polo down, head to toe, ready to kill somebody. The first one that said something had my black baseball gloves on. We used to call them face burners, FBs. And this was well known that I was strapped 24/7 all of the time. Okay? So those are the 5 reasons. So the 5th reason is definitely the one. So if you're in a gang, more than likely you're gonna feel the need or the need to actually walk with that gun. You're gonna feel the need to walk with the gun. So, guys, tell me what you think in the comments on these 5 reasons of why I did over 10 years in prison. And if you're going down the same route, I advise you to stop what you're doing and switch it. Stay tuned. Stay rip. 6-pack, big back, big facts.
Indeed, in the body, literal translation, is a lump of flesh, a piece of meat. إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. And when that lump of flesh